Hello and welcome to The Last Word, a roundtable where we discuss the teams going to the major in the different regions, and we also talk about a bunch of other side topics that start to pop up. We're now doing China. With me, the panel is Winter, Adam, and Richie Seekins Dota. The four teams coming from China are PSG LGD, Aster, Knights, and eHome. Let's talk about the top two because I think there's a considerable division between PSG LGD, Aster, and then Knights and eHome. We'll start with you, Adam, because I know you're a big fan of the top two teams.
I feel like LGD and Aster, outside China this year, a lot of players retired. It felt like the region was gonna take a step down. Aster was the only team that kind of kept their roster. I would say 4 players, new coach, new mid player. I think Monet said in an interview that RTK's coaching style was very, very different from Lanham. Because Lanham used to focus on very small detail stuff, but RTK is a much more big picture guy. So he doesn't touch on small detail and the players have to handle it. So it's something they were taking time to learn. LGD on the other hand, they're kind of, I wouldn't say they're very new. They were the previous eHome, Shiro and 420 kind of had it. Yeah. Like they were always pretty good players, I think, just never really had a chance, and now they're playing with a bit more veteran players as well as under Xiao, which is obviously a very big opportunity for them.
Good recipe.
Yeah, it looks like a good recipe. I feel like the teams that do well generally, they have a pretty good balance between the more experienced players and new talent. I think LG is a good showing of that.
You don't say anything?
I don't have anything to add on. I mean, that was very descriptive. I think it was to the point.
Thank you, Richie. All right, Winter.
I agree with Adam. I feel like when I look at LGD, even though they have three new players, but I feel like the core of the team, the ideas that they have before, I can still see it in the current iteration of the team. And I feel like this is what you want to do when you play together after a long time. You want to have some fresh faces, fresh ideas. Maybe you maintain the same direction, but the whole team just seems more motivated to play, compared to when I look at the LGD team last year. Some of them kind of felt like, I just want to rest. You don't get the vibe that I want to fight. I want to compete. And with this LGD, I feel like it's back. It's there. Then I'm quite a fan of the new carry player Shiro. I think he has very big shoes to fill. Obviously with Ame. But I think he's doing a really good job so far. And if you look at Team Aster, same more or less the same, just different coach. But it's difficult to carry the same energy from last year to the next year with almost the same players, and I feel like they're still doing it.
Yeah, nothing to say, especially that's what I can. So I got MVP for the entire league over in China. Because China does like their whole entire, they do a lot of extra stuff, and he was just like MVP of the entire league.
Is that for every single role or just like?
Yeah, he was the MVP of the league. He was the
For every single. I
think it's just like one.
I don't know.
That's the MP. How do you compare like his role to a support?
I don't know. I saw it on the broadcast. They were like,
here's the people on the panel. Choose.
I mean, it could have been.
I mean, I know that's how they do it, but it's like imagine in basketball, you have MVP for everything, including coaches and managers, and they choose a player. And they go, all these coaches, they're garbage. They haven't scored points.
They do that though, don't they?
I don't know. They
do that in traditional sports. You get the championship trophy and then you get an MVP trophy as well.
Oh yeah, but that's one of the dumbest trophies.
Well, sure, but I mean, it just proves. I think the points I bring up is because it proves he's still keeping the momentum going, right? Which I think, like you guys are alluding to, like there were a lot of mixed feelings about the expectations of this team going forward.
I think LGD would be
good.
Yeah. See.
Do you think they will fare equally as well against Tier 1 teams?
I think, again, it's a learning experience, but I do expect them to do pretty okay.
Do you think this team, because I was looking at their players' ages, and they're actually, they're not crazy old, but they are old. But you could argue that they're the newer talent, as you said. I mean, they were in eHome, but at least some of the rising talent in China. Do you think this gives you a little bit of hope for the Chinese region, who's really lacking this?
I do, but I think this year itself is going to be a growing year for them. I think Aster is the only team that's really a contender right now, internationally. I think LGD will still struggle, or at least that's what I think. I might be wrong, but I think they'll still struggle. Even Knights and eHome, they don't look like very international competition ready to me.
Let's talk about mid laner first. Ori versus XWY. How have you seen, or Line, in case you haven't seen him? What do you guys think of this change? How do you think XWY is paired with the team?
He fit pretty well at the start. Like, he doesn't look very out of place. I think it's because Aster has system in the way they play Dota. Even though it's a bit Actually, it's very different from other teams. I think Astor has always been a bit more unique, but they have very vocal players, so I think it's easier to play around. Even if you're just coming in as a mid player, it's quite okay.
I feel like the previous iteration, okay, they have the off-laners XXS, then you have Monet, right? I feel like XXS is very like stable off-laner. He provides you with, he's very reliable, and same with the carry. And then when you have Ori, like 3 of them are the same kind of people or player, you know. And I feel like sure it brought them some success, but they needed something, the spice, you know, they needed something to bring them to another level. And I feel like Yi or XWY, whatever you guys
Is
want to
he
call
Yi?
it, he's the one line, right? He's Yi, right?
So why do people call him XWY then?
He changed his idea.
I think he just changed his name. Was that?
Okay, I didn't know that. He's this
So-
like keen gaming player, right?
He's the what?
Yeah, the one line guy, the one line guy. Yeah, Yi. So
So he's
basically,
not a new player.
No, it's not. No.
yeah. But when you guys talk about new or
Like they're coming from lower teams.
age, whatever, I feel like all these are not really that important. It's more about you look at their career and the Dota experience and where are they at, you know. And I feel like they're young at in terms of Dota experience, where they are in their careers. And I feel like Yi as a player is a very explosive player. He takes risks. That's what I mainly focus on. When you have Monet and XSS, they are more reliable, they are stable. You need somebody that's willing to put their neck on the line, you know. They do something, like sure, you lose because of it, but sometimes you win because of it. I feel like they need that kind of change.
The other change in Aster, RTK. Personal big fan of the man. I cried with his grandma story back in TI4, and I've never looked back. You know, he's very vocal, he's very emotional, like you said. Big picture stuff. One of the quotes about RTK that always shocked me was how I think it was Vici back then he was coaching, and they said that he would stay up until like 6 a.m. looking at opponents' replays, figuring out like small things, and then would tell the team, and the team had never even considered some of the things. Probably one of the hardest working coaches, but the man had a pretty big hit when Elephant lost, particularly. The Chinese community was not kind to him, and that's why partially the break or whatever happened, because of the drama with Elephant, etc. Now he's back with his team. What do you guys think he can bring to a team? He's a very unique coach, even in China.
Yeah, I feel like Astor as a whole, as a team, they are a unique team. The way they play the map and the way their carry looks at the game is pretty different. I think they play around each other a bit more, but it's very unique. It's just very different to me. Like the way they play, and I think RTK, like I say, is a big picture kind of guy. So I'm very curious to see how that interaction is gonna work. Like, is he gonna help them clean up what they're currently doing, or is he gonna outright try to change it? But whatever they've been doing so far, it looks like it's been working. They're 7-0, I believe. One of the only 7-0
No, there's
teams.
6-1.
Oh, they're 6-1.
Yeah, they got beat by
LGD.
and they got beat by LGD again in tiebreakers.
Oh, okay. 6-1. But I feel like Astor, I don't want to judge them too quickly, because I feel like China has a lot of like new teams right now, and they've been together for so long. It's kind of cheating, I guess, for lack of a better word. On an international stage, I'm very curious to see how they're gonna do.
Okay, so with the new teams then, Knights and eHome. Something I thought was interesting about these teams is that both eHome maybe less so, but especially Knights, have a couple of players that they're not new, but they've never been able to get any relevant results. Particularly SEA players, actually, Velosheva and Lakari, who have never been considered tier 1 or even close to it. They've struggled to make any results anywhere, and all of a sudden now they're going to a major. Is this that they've just suddenly improved? Are you seeing better play, or do you feel like the level in China past the first 2 is dropping a little bit?
I think it's definitely dropping, but I will say like every game, like I follow them a lot, right? Because Lakari is a friend.
Yeah, they're both
I like to
Malaysian,
watch
yeah.
his game, yeah. I feel like every game he's performing really well. Maybe the team as a whole, maybe not as good as the other teams, but I feel like his performance itself is really quite outstanding to me on the team.
I on the other hand feel like he's just the same, you know, before he left for China. I feel like when he was in C, he plays the same way, and I feel like the thing that changed is the pieces of puzzles around him.
Okay.
I feel like maybe when he's there right now, like he has people that can play around him better, because I feel like he's a very polarizing mid player. You need a lot of things for him, you know, in the draft. You need a lot of ideas to be central around him. Yeah, I feel like he's a little bit better because the team fits him much easier. But I would say that when I look at the games, I feel like he's doing what he's doing when he was here, you know.
Just finally being enabled is what you were
Yeah,
saying.
but he's being enabled more by his team. And if you talk about Felix, I feel like he's always been a pretty good, solid, you know, support player, you know. And I feel like I still see that in this team. It's all about having the right pieces together.
It's interesting that China is the one region that's getting this, like players that have been recycled and recycled over and over again. Like Eastern Europe, that was their plague, right? All these players that were recycled, they realized they weren't that good. They finally got set apart. Eastern Europe got new talent. They started doing well. But in China, it's actually the opposite because there's no new players.
That's not actually, I mean, that's true, right? You have players from other regions joining. I actually think it's like partially a symptom of like when you're like top two teams in China, like LGD and I think it was RNG and Aster, like last year.
LGD and Aster.
LGD and Aster, yeah. They were, like people were mad when Aster beat LGD. Like they were upset. They were like, no, you need to let the better team in, right? Like that was like legitimately, like that was like, they got so much blowback for that. Like these expectations that these players have from the fans is immense. So I imagine like having like a refresh period of, okay, a new team, we don't have these same expectations. We're not, we don't have Ame, the uncrowned king on our team who we need to get to the grand finals. Like, I don't know. I feel like it has to get to these players, and making these small changes and even recycling and resetting expectations for Chinese teams is maybe for the best. Because this region, I mean, was surprised they maintained their 4th slot, if I'm honest with you, especially with the big news of the retirements. I thought they were going to give a slot to SA and pull from China.
It's only going to get older, this region, because the player base is definitely shrinking in China. A lot of people are playing in C now. I mean, surely, yeah, you can always import Malaysian players, a lot of Chinese speakers here, but there's always going to be an issue. Will we lead to this point that you were talking about, Winter, where it's not necessarily about age, but about Dota age, where you have like people that are like 25, 26 that might be getting into competitive Dota because there's a chance now?
Yeah, and maybe doing the same thing that you guys suggested for SA and NA might be also beneficial for China and
They're
SA.
trying to see.
Yeah.
I mean,
No way.
that is
SDA is too full.
yes. It's also physically impossible to do that with server-wise.
Yeah,
but-
the ping's pretty bad.
So good suggestion, Winter, but denied.
That's wrong.
Denied.
Wrong answer.
The panel of judges disagree. I feel like China's in an okay place. They just need maybe a year to like get back up.
But how is that okay when there's no new players,
Yeah, like I was looking at the average age of these players, and like they're mostly my age, and I'm old.
I mean, I feel like people who have, I can't say for our region. I feel like in Malaysia, everyone who comes to Dota events are my age. They watch Dota, they love Dota, they don't play anymore. 20 years old, 22 years old, most of them, they're playing mobile games. It's just kind of the norm right now. I assume it's the same in China. It's just easy, right? People who go to work, they go to lunch break, they're like on their phone. They don't have a computer, obviously.
Right. You can't talk to your teammates even, which is the best part about you just can play 50 minutes done compared to Dota.
It's not expensive, right, to own like a good PC.
And the laws also allow you to play mobile games, so there's a lot of things there. I will point out though, Richie, you might be right. China's always been very helped by nationalism. C has been the case as well. South America, for example, the reason why it's rising in players, it's all because of the Beast Coast top 6 effect at Tiananmen.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for them, they straight up wouldn't be. Like, there was one Bolivian player in that roster, and that rose the amount of Bolivian players in Dota by a lot. I think the only region that doesn't really get faced by nationalism too much is Western Europe, because it's very international, and also because we all hate our countries as Europeans, or hate each other. Like, you know what it feels like, you when you're European, and like, a team wins with like a Spanish player, like, yeah, and then you have a French player, then you go, fuck off. I hate you more than I like myself.
I think it's genuinely revitalizing for regions. Like after Team Spirit won, they were doing like head of state visits. Like
That's
that literally makes news.
Yes.
And it makes waves. And Dota 2, I haven't played that game in a couple of years. I'll reinstall it. Whatever. Like that stuff makes a difference. What's the last thing that China won? It was probably LGD. They won the Arlington major, right?
I mean, no, they win a lot of majors, but they don't win
they
TI.
just gotta get. It was Aster top 4 at TI, and then they were done, right? I think was the biggest result, and then it was top 6 for LGD, right? Which are good, but I think they just need another Chinese team in playoffs.
Final team, by the way, and this is exciting in a different way, which is eHome. Because eHome has a lot of players that it's actually similar to Knights, except these players have not tried for as long. Most of them are actually looking more like new blood, like Xiao Yu particularly, who really struggle in C, and now they're doing really well. It seems like a first chance for them. Salad, I've never seen someone so happy to make it to a major after he won that final match. Are they going to be a potential new blood for the region? Do you give them hopes?
I mean, I think they're just a fluke. They have a 4th slot.
Do you think they're a fluke? What team do you think was stronger than them?
I mean, Extreme is probably the biggest disappointment of China.
I would agree with you. I mean, that's true, actually. Extreme is
Probably,
pretty close.
yeah. I don't know. This is it's probably the biggest disappointment. I think no one expected it.
I'm telling you, man, with great expectations, it's got to be liberating for them, right? With hence their jubilation.
Yeah, right. Salad was super happy. I've never seen so much emotion from a Dota player.
I mean, it's nice to qualify major in China too. It's like a competitive region. For these players, they've been trying for so long. First major for a lot of them too.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
So you have no hopes. Maybe this major makes
I mean,
them
they
better.
have 4 slots, like, they're not that great a team. I think Knights has, like, a fighting chance. I don't think Nihon does. I watched a lot of the Chinese games. I don't feel like it's not...
Yeah, but I feel like for Knights, it's also a bit similar when in the beginning, everybody it's kind of bad, rusty, and then they won a lot of games from that. So I feel like they're also a bit unstable.
Sorry, they won a lot of games from what?
Like initially, they won a lot of games, and I feel like when the opponents are not that good, during that point of time, like LGD lost their first series as well.
You're
so,
comparing them to Execration, basically.
Yeah, it's a little similar, but they are obviously in the harder region. But I would have more expectations on, for sure, LGD and LGD Esther. And I would put, Eho and Knights are probably nearer to each other, in terms of not doing so well in the major. I mean, obviously Extreme, I expected them to do much better, to qualify at
Yeah,
least.
put Extreme actually close to LGD and Aster when you show me the
yeah,
roster.
top 3, right?
Yeah, 100%. On your point, Winter, actually, you're right. One of the first wins they got that actually allowed them to go that far, Knights particularly, was against PSG LGD in the second week.
I feel like that win is so big, If they played LGD later, I feel like
That's true, because LGD just won.
LGD is gonna win that
But
series.
that's Dota, right? Like, I mean, that's our format. Dota, like, when we played, it was 1 week. How fast you learn in that 1 week, how fast you adapt in a build tree, that matters so much. But Dota has grew away from that now. I think Tundra in an interview, I think Sasa mentioned that they were struggling with the new schedule too. It's different because you have more prep time, you have like different approaches to teams. Teams get better. Week one XG and week 3 XG might have been 2 different teams completely. Right.
With now talked about all the teams, final question here is... Actually, I have one question here I want to ask you. You guys think China will ever get to win another TI at the rate that it's going?
Yes.
It's scary to say no. I think there's definitely a chance. Maybe not as high as like Europe, for example, but they definitely do have a chance.
Yeah, Europe and Eastern Europe and Western Europe. I feel like the teams there have the highest chance. China will put...
And East Coast.
Yeah. Okay, sure. But I will put China in like the 3rd region.
Oh, really?
3rd region, really?
Yeah, behind them.
Even behind, for example, North America, at least, like the top 2 teams.
I mean, yeah, I think China and SA, maybe you can put them even, like they're there, same.
Or Southeast Asia.
That's very high, actually. I think.
Southeast Asia is second last. I think NA is last. Then you go to Southeast Asia, then China and SA join 3rd and 4th, and then the European teams.
I would probably put China above Eastern Europe, but I would still put China like pretty low. I think like the years of lockdown that China's been in have like really destroyed their international experience, because they've already been a region that only plays with themselves and sometimes a bit C. I think they really struggle when they face different play styles. So I think like they are a bit behind the ball right now. I'd like to see them, be able to travel some more, because it's been such a concern, Like you meet someone from China and they're like, yeah, I haven't gone home in like 3 years,
Well, that was the case in, what was the major?
It was after TI-10, wasn't it? Arlington as well. They were like out of the country and I mean, these players have lives and family. Like it's.
I think it might have been. No, I think you're right. It might have been TI-10.
It was after TI-10.
They stayed for like 6 months outside of
China.
China.
And it destroys these teams.
Yeah, but when you look at the DPC games, I feel like the EU games, they are actually much more like clean. A lot of the execution is much better. Like you compare the amount of games, the good games. I feel like they have more good games compared to China.
Top slot for a Chinese team this major. Top position.
Yeah, top 6 sounds kind of a bit hard.
I mean, 6 is like max.
Yeah, I was gonna go top 6 and
Actually, top 6 because I put 2 teams on Europe.
Top 8, top 6,
Yeah.
top 8, and top 6.
Yeah.
top 6.
3, 2, 1.
This crowd is actually able to do so for a decent amount of time.
Have to take out like the blade cloak. That's get a lot of damage, but here comes the black hole.